John Guerrero, and welcome to the Here's a Thought podcast, where we talk about life and faith and exploring this journey of following God in a world full of chaos. Thanks for joining me. In his book, Resilient, author and speaker John Eldredge says, "You can't heal trauma without grieving it." There is power in telling our story. Healing can begin when a person allows themselves to come to terms with what's happened to them and then begins to process those experiences and how they've been shaped by them. Naming things is important. We see this in Scripture. In many of the Old Testament stories, God was involved in the act of naming, giving names to people, to places, to events, even to himself. Assigning a name to something meant acknowledging its value and its impact. In the book of Genesis, chapter 22, we see the story of God calling Abraham to offer his only son Isaac as a sacrifice. It was a radical command. It was a test of Abraham's faith, and Abraham obeyed. He walked his son to the top of the mountain, preparing to do exactly what God had commanded him to do. And as much as it would pain him, and as little sense as it made to him, he would be obedient. He trusted God, even if it was scary. At the last minute, Scripture tells us God spared Isaac. Behind Abraham, caught in a bush, was a ram, an animal miraculously provided by God to be the substitute for the sacrifice that he was about to make. Abraham understood. He got the picture. His obedience had been tested. He had passed, and now God was rewarding his faith. And after it was all finished, Abraham gave this location a name. In Genesis 22:16, it says, "So Abraham called the name of that place, 'The Lord will provide.' As it is said to this day, on the mount of the Lord it shall be provided." So, what was the name given? In the Hebrew, it's the word Jehovah Jireh. The Lord will provide. Abraham gave this name to that spot on top of that mountain, this name that was based on the story of what had taken place there, this miraculous, transformative event that God had stepped in and had provided when Abraham needed him to the most. Abraham embraced that story. He named the experience. It had changed him, and he would never forget it. Notice these other examples from Scripture. I'm going to read several different verses. Genesis 11:9 says, "Therefore its name is called Babel, because there the Lord confused the language of all the earth. And from there the Lord scattered them abroad over the face of all the earth." Genesis 21:31 says, "Therefore he called that place Beersheba, because the two of them swore an oath there." He named it. Genesis 32:30, "So Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, for I have seen God face to face, he said, and my life is preserved." Genesis 35:7, "And he built an altar there and called the place El Bethel, because there God appeared to him when he fled from the face of his brother." Exodus 17:7 says, "So he called the name of the place Massah and Meribah, because of the contention of the children of Israel, and because they tempted the Lord, saying, 'Is the Lord among us or not?'" And then finally, Numbers chapter 11, verse 3, it says, "So he called the name of the place Taberah, because the fire of the Lord had burned among them." In all of these scriptures, you see that something significant happened to or among God's people, and each time, in response to that event, a name was given. Either a name ascribed to God, or a name for the location where the event took place, or a name to commemorate the day that it happened. In some way, the people of God were called to acknowledge the event and to put a name on it, to honor it, to understand the significance and the weight of what had taken place there, to let it be a part of their story and not to run away from it or hide from it. Listen to what Brené Brown says about owning our stories. She says, "Owning our story and loving ourselves through that process is the bravest thing that we will ever do." What does this mean for us when it comes to looking back on the traumatic or painful things that have happened to us? It means we stop running from it, that we stop to consider the weight of it, the weight we've been carrying all these years, that we acknowledge its impact, and that we begin to break ourselves free from its hold. To quote John Eldredge again, He says healing from trauma involves naming what the trauma was and what its effects upon us have been. What we resist tends to persist, and what we avoid just keeps coming back to the surface, often at the most inconvenient and undesirable times. To break free, we have to come face to face with what we've experienced. We can't keep hiding or running away or avoiding. We have gotten really good at avoiding, haven't we? We fill our downtime with social media scrolling, watching dumb videos online, chatting with friends, getting lost in a book. In themselves, those things are not bad. But as ways to avoid dealing with things that still haunt us, they're unhealthy at best. So what can we do? We can stop the avoidance. We can drop the distractions. We can walk towards the story instead of trying to run away from it. Again, to go back to John Eldredge, who is himself a former therapist, he poses these questions to consider to help in processing past hurts. What's it been like for you? What's been hard? What made you mad? What do you wish had never happened? Sometimes in my own counseling sessions with people, the question is presented this way. I often ask my clients who have been through trauma or who are dealing with things from their childhood, what's the worst thing that's ever happened to you? And how do you think that has impacted you ever since it happened? Really think about that question. What's the worst thing that's ever happened to you? How has it impacted you? What's it been like for you? What do you wish had never happened in your life? Can you name those things, acknowledge them, so that you can begin to process them? There's value in processing the things that we've been through, but that has to begin with agreeing to name it, to stop avoiding it, to be willing to sit with the experience and the pain that it caused, to accept it as part of our story, and then to step into how to heal from it. It's hard work, but it's so worth it. I'll quote Dr. Sharon Fieldstone from the Apple TV series Ted Lasso. In a counseling session with Coach Lasso, she told him, "Remember, Ted, the truth will set you free, but first it'll piss you off." Are you willing to face the truth? The truth of your own life, the truth of your own history, the truth of your own past, the truth of the experiences that you have been through and that maybe you are still trying to hide from. To try understanding how it's